I'm a firefighter / EMT. Recently I went on a call where a patient didn't live. Not unusual by any means. Unfortunately, I deal with loss of life on almost a daily basis. I detach and do my job, always working to get better. This call, I failed to detach. It hit me hard when the patient's husband let out chilling screams as his 30-year-old wife went from alert and talking to dead within minutes. I let myself enter into his shoes at that moment. I got over it quick during my days off and moved on. It's part of the job and I accept that. But my question is, when does it become inhumane to detach? Do we sometimes need to let some weakness through to remain grounded when dealing with such major incidents as loss of life? Thank you.
Okay, first of all, sympathy and empathy are not weaknesses. They're not weaknesses. In fact, it actually takes strength to be able to deal with these types of situations and these types of emotions. The weak move would actually be to cut those emotions off completely. So that being said, as you know, obviously there is a dichotomy because you cannot let the emotions overwhelm you. As a matter of fact, if you get overwhelmed by your feelings, then you can't do your job properly, which in its own right is inhumane because now you're not able to treat the patients that you're trying to save because you're getting too emotional about it. So what do you have to do? The answer for the millionth time of a different subject but comes up all the time is you got to find balance. You have to find balance between being emotional enough but not being too emotional. You have to learn to recognize if you're going too far in one direction or the other. You have to do a self-assessment. You have to look and see and make sure that that you see the people you're treating as people. You have to look at them and make sure that you're seeing them as people, that you're not seeing them as a hunk of meat, right? You have to do that. You have to make sure that you're doing that. At the same time, you cannot afford emotionally to go through the pain of loss every time you see someone die, because that's also going to be a problem. You can't afford emotionally to do that. You can't go through that pain over and over and over again. So you have to, like you said, you have to detach. Normally you do a good job with that. I've seen guys get wounded. I've seen guys get killed. I've been around a lot of death. And when it was around me, I didn't have time to stop and think about it. I had to work to do. I had to detach myself and do my job. At the same time, when it's over and the time was appropriate, it's like you got to connect with what happened and make sure that you are dealing with it appropriately. And, you know, I always thank firefighters and paramedics and EMTs and police and military, but, you know, paramedics and EMTs, you're only showing up if someone is in a bad way. And I know that's hard physically, and it's hard mentally, and it's hard emotionally. So find the balance, keep yourself balanced, make sure you're not going too far in one direction or the other. And thanks for doing your job.
Man, that's like easy, but sometimes you forget that about EMTs.
Yeah.
Firefighter.
No,
like that's the only time, you know, where they spray. I mean, pretty much.
Yeah.
You know,
EMTs are getting called because someone is in a bad way.
That's the whole gig.
That's what they're showing up for.
So it's like, man, and you know, cops too. Like it's easy to be on the outside when you're going to parks and, you know, and if your job is like, you know, I don't know, me, I press record and make videos or whatever, you know, and this is like every day. So it kind of forms this kind of vision, you know, of my world or whatever. But EMTs, man, every time you get the call, it's just the question is just, oh, how bad,
yep.
You know?
That's what it is. How bad of a situation is the person I'm about to go contend with? What's their situation?
Yeah.
They could be everything from a minor situation to they're going to die in front of me again. This new person. Yeah. And their life and their kids and their family. And, you know, Peter Attia talked about some of that becoming a bit jaded. In fact, it's a pretty horrific story, and it's worth listening to that podcast when he was on, and he talked about how he got to a point where some patients he started to look at like he'd be mad at them.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to avoid, is getting to this point. You gotta do your best to stay emotionally detached enough that you can do your job, but at the same time, you can't be looking at other human beings as if they're just a piece of meat.
Yeah.
So, hard job.
Oh, yeah.